Hello everybody, welcome back. We are in the second part of the video while we are building this game called Rapid Fire Numbers, which is basically our version of the Tux of Math. So let's just recap what this game is and continue to build this uh, as we go on, right? So I'll go here. Basically, this game is very nice, very simple, elegant. That you have these numbers falling from the sky. I must answer them quickly and correctly for these clones to disappear, right? And if I do not, if these numbers touch the red line, then I can end up losing the game. Yeah. So it's simple as that, and of course we have sort of been on our pursuit of building this, and what we have done so far is that we have numbers falling down, and we have these lists which are storing the clone IDs for all the clones that are getting generated and also the correct answer, right? Remember, these numbers that are falling are basically clones of the same sprite, each of which has a unique ID which is getting stored in this list, and the answer that is created by these is getting stored in this list as well. So 0 plus 6 is 6. That's why it gets added to this list as 6, right? So the important point here is that there is a strict correspondence between these three lists and the answer list. So like I said in the previous video as well, the clone with ID number 1 and plus the clone of ID number 2, the answer of that should have been 5, and that's why it's 5, right? So this is very, very important. We stressed on this in the last part of the video, in the last video. We shall now proceed from this further, right? Now, this video, what we will see is how do we process the answers, how do we know whether the user is giving the right answer, and what do we do thereafter, right? So that's where this video kind of starts. So let's first have a question box available to us, right? So I'm going to create a new loop here, right? And I'll say, look, in the, I'll say when flag clicked, okay? So when flag clicked, forever, right? Forever ask a question and wait. Right now here I do not want to ask any question. Basically, remember, this thing is like a say with a question bubble, a question box, but here I'm just going to say, look, I'm not going to ask anything. I'll just make this empty and wait, right? So what that does is something interesting. Let's just play this much. So notice I've got now an answer box in the bottom, and this answer box is going to be there forever. So for example, if I answer say 67, I enter, that answer gets taken, but then I'm ready for another answer. So I can keep answering many, many questions through this mechanism, right? Now, uh, so what we want to do is to answer a question, answer any one of the questions that is being thrown on towards us. So for example, when I click this, right, so I've got 4 plus 1 is 5, 4 plus 8 is 12. I can answer either 12 or 5. So if I do 12, right, and so on and so forth, right? So I have to answer any, I can choose to answer whichever question I want. So 4 plus 6 is 10. I can answer 10, then I have to answer 11, then 12, and 10 again, say 15, and so on and so forth, right? So to do this, what we will do is we were going to use this list called answers and see what we are going to do. Remember, answers contains the right answer, the correct answer that we are expecting from the user, right? So by doing this, by doing ask and wait, we are asking, giving the user an opportunity to reply. And remember from a very one of the early lessons that anything that the user replies goes in this variable called answer, right? So I'm going to say, look, if answer, if I'm going to get back this answer, and I'm going to put a condition that if answer, the list answers contains answer, right? What does it mean? Let me just put that code in here and it may make sense, right? So I'll go and say, if this particular list, so let's say, list answers contains answer, right? No, what does this really mean, right? So what I mean is that whatever answer I'm providing from the dialog box, if the list answers contains that answer, it means that I've answered at least one of the questions correctly, right? So let me repeat this again. Let's say in this case, the three numbers that are displayed, the three pairs of numbers that are displayed on the screen have their answers as 5, 6, and 9. If my answer is any of these, so if it's 5, 6, or 9, right, which means if the answer, that is say, whatever I give, is contained in this list called answers, it must mean that I've answered the question correctly, right? So if this number is contained in this list called answers, right, I am going to basically say that, look, I am going to have to delete these clones, right? Because remember in my game, the moment I give a correct answer, those clones disappear from the screen, right? So I'm going to have to delete these clones. But then for that purpose, I must know which clones am I talking about. Yeah, so I must know which clones am I talking about, and that's where the structural scheme that we have come up becomes very, very handy, right? So for example, if let's say in this situation right here, if I were to answer 9, then I know that the clones that I have to delete are the clones which are basically 7, 8, and 9. And the reason I know this is because remember this correspondence I talked about, right? So if I'm answering 9, it's at the index 3 of this list, and hence I must delete everything from the index 3, from the left clone, right clone, and operator clone, right? So this is the center pin of what we are doing, right? So let's just proceed with this and see how this works, right? So I'll go and say uh, if answers contain answer, right, I'm going to create a new variable. I'll go and make a variable called say index, right? So I'll create a variable called index, and I'm going to set this variable index to the item number of answer in answers, right? So let's see what this looks like. So I'm going to say set, right? Sorry, where is it? Yeah, so in the variables, I'm going to say set index. I don't need to do this. Index is right here. Set index to item number of thing in answer. So item number of answer in answers, right? So really what this means is that, for example, in this situation, if I were to answer 9, right, then the index will become 3. If I were to answer 5, index will become 1. If I were to answer 6, index will become 2, right? Now in reality, obviously these lists will not be displayed, but this is what's going on here, right? So I'm going to basically find out which question I'm answering, right? And so that I can find out by seeing the index, by setting index to the item number of answer in answers, right? Now, the moment I do this, right, the moment I do this, basically I know that that particular answer has been answered correctly, right? Which means that it's time for me to delete these clones. Okay, so to do so, of course, the clone has to be deleted from when I start a clone as a clone, right? So I'm going to create a new list where I am going to keep track of the clones that now will get deleted because an answer has been answered correctly, right? Before I go there, let me just use this opportunity to go back and look at this scheme once again. Remember the first part we covered in the first part of the video. The second part is basically what I've been talking about. So when the user provides an answer, see if it is present in the list answers, right? So that's how we do that by seeing, is the list answers, does the list answers contain the answer that we have provided? Remember, answer is what we are providing. Answers is a list that we have created from the first part of the video. Yeah. Now, if yes, okay, if yes, then move all the clone IDs that resulted in that answer into the delete list, right? So this is where the delete list is going to come into picture. Basically, I am going to move the clones that I want to delete now into this delete list. And finally, we will see that we will delete these clones, right? So this is, we are sort of, here, there's still a little bit of catch in this thing. I'll talk about that in a moment. But for now, what I will do is to create this list called delete list, which is now, uh, you know, which is going to hold delete list. So I'm going to say for all sprites, create this list called delete list. Yeah. This list is going to contain the clones that will have to be deleted because I answered something correctly, right? So what I do is that I have found set index to item number of answer in answer. So which means, for example, like I said, if I answered, in this case, if I answered 6, the index would be 2. So I'm going to say, let's put clones 4, 5, and 6 into the delete list. Yeah. So it's very simple. How do I do that? Basically, I'm going to say add, right? I'm going to add something to the delete list. What am I going to add? Add item index of, and be careful on this because very easy to make mistake, right? So I'm going to say add item index of left clone to delete list, right? Once I've done this, I can duplicate and I can put add item index of right clone to delete list, add item index of operator clone to delete list, right? So now I've got a list which is called a delete list, which is keeping track of uh, all the clones that are going to get deleted, right? And we'll come to that in a moment. But remember, these clones are going to get deleted because one of the answers match to the answer that has been provided, right? So basically, whatever answer I gave from the dialog box matched one of the answers out there, which means the list contained that answer. And now I'm finding out which question was answered and moving those indices to the delete list. Okay. Having done this, I will go and furthermore prune my lists right here. What do I mean by prune the list? Shorten these lists by removing this particular uh, question and answer from these lists so that the game remains active, right? So for example, uh, in this case, let's say I answered 9. So I'm going to remove, I moved these three to delete list. Also, I'm going to prune these lists by saying that, okay, 7, 8, 9 are already put in the delete list. Answers is also in the delete list. So I'm going to delete these things from these four lists. Okay. So what I'll do is that I will say, I'll go item here, delete. And again, I can use index of, so yeah, I can, sorry, not delete this. I'm going to really delete this index of answers. Let me just put this together and I'll talk about it in a moment. Yeah. Delete this of left clone, delete index of right clone, and delete index of operator clone, right? So now what are we doing here really? Yeah? It's actually very logical. It's basically saying that, look, this particular question has been answered. I know that because the answer you provided was part of the answers list. And now I'm going to remove this question and these clones from the picture so that I do not get confused further on, right? So, for example, if I answer 9, then all these clones these three numbers will move to the delete list. And then I go and delete item 3, delete basically 3 of answers, which is basically deleting item 3, for example, of answers. Yeah. So let's see this, maybe I can try showing you slowly what's going on here. Okay, and for that purpose, I'm going to have to put these lists in it's a little bit clumsy, but okay, I think we can manage. Yeah. Uh, okay. Okay, probably something like this. So left clone, right clone, and answers, and the delete list can be placed somewhere here, right? So maybe this is fine. Yeah. Now also I'm going to reduce the time. I mean increase the time of this thing so that we have some time to see what's going on in the code, right? And let's see if this. So I'm going to, I've set 10 seconds. I'm going to wait for 10 seconds. The first question is going to pop up there, right? Uh, After 10 seconds. First question is 3 plus 1. If I answer 4, right? Notice what happens, right? If I answer 4, 1, 2, and 3 move to the delete list because those clone IDs I'm going to have to delete and the other list got empty. Now the answer is 14. If I answered 14, right? 4, 5, 6 also got moved to the delete list and answer is again empty, right? So what this is doing really is that it is making sure that your lists are not becoming so large that it gets hard to handle them. Number one. Number two, if you do not remove that answer, right, later on you will get confused which question am I looking at. So I've already answered that question. Let me remove them from these list answers, right? And I'll of course talk about delete lists in more detail as we go on. However, there is one problem which we have not yet solved, which is that because I'm not controlling what numbers fall from the sky, right? I'm giving them a random, random costumes for 1 to 10 and 1 to 10. So it's possible that more than one questions have the same answer, right? For example, I might get 7 plus 6, which is 13. I might get 9 plus 4, which is also 13, right? So which means that remember, when I'm getting these questions, I'm just adding all the correct answers to the answers list. So it's very much possible that my answers list will have repeated entries, right? So let's see that. In fact, we should get it quite easily. If I reduce the time here to say 1 second so that I get numbers quite fast, I just want you to focus on the answers list. Uh, 11, 14, 12, 9, okay, 11. See, there you go. So I've got these two questions which I've got answer of 11, and those are basically 4 plus 7, and I guess 4 plus 7 again, right? So it's very likely that I might get answers which are repeated, right? So how do I handle that? Before I get there, I just realized as I was writing this that I should do delete all of the delete list as I start. Otherwise, the game will again get messed up, right? So I'll add this delete all of delete list. So now I'm coming to the point that look, answers could have multiple multiple values getting generated. So how do I mean multiple values which are not unique, how do I handle that, right? And in fact the answer, the structure to handle that is already ready. All I have to do is that I have to keep on doing this, keep on doing this till the list that called answers does not contain the answer that I provided, right? Remember, let me say this again. I will keep on doing all of this until the list called answers does not contain the answer that I wanted. I mean, the answer that I provided, right? So, and I can do that by putting, say, this under repeat until. All right, so I'll put this all this under repeat until, and what should be the condition here? Well, it's very simple. I'm going to say not, basically not of this, right? So what does that mean? That until the answers does not contain this word answer, repeat this thing, right? If it contains, keep on repeating. So for example, if you had let's say in this case 11 11, uh, if I answered, let's say for example 11, probably I'll remove the item number 1. Next time again it will check, oh yeah, and remove. I remember I'm pruning this list, so answer 11 will be gone from here. Next I look at this again and I will say, look, you know uh, answer 11 is still there, so I'm going to remove this guy, right? So by doing this repeat until, till this answer does not contain that specific reply that I've given, I can make sure that all the repetitions of this are also avoided, right? So let's try to see if we can see this in action, right? It's hard because when we slow it down, the chances of getting repeats also reduces that much, right? So let's see, but we might just get it. uh, Basically, let's see how this thing works. So we have got, for example, here, let's see what comes out, right? So I've got 5 plus 2. Maybe I'll wait for the next number to also show up, right? So, of course, 5 plus 2 is 7. Maybe I'll just answer that. It's otherwise that goes into this thing. So 0 plus 3 is 3, right? If I answer that, then that's 3. But, maybe I'll reduce this time a little bit to see if we can get some repeated numbers coming back, right? Uh, so for example, 2 plus 0 is 2, right? So that's answer 2. If I answer 2, that goes away, right? I got 7 plus 9, which is 16. Now I'm, so 16. I hope I get, okay, 16 did not repeat still. So I put 16. Let's say I put 1, and all of this is going to get in the repeat list. 4 plus 6 is 10. Uh, let's see if I can get another answer. Okay, now we got 10 and 10, right? So if I say 10 here, notice both will get removed because the operation here was done until, okay, until the answer does not contain, the answers list does not contain answer, right? So which means not answer contains answer, right? So that basically cleans up the list and you can take care of all the multiple repetitions, right? Now this is important because otherwise you will have a situation where probably some part of the clone will get deleted and that will cause a lot of confusion later on, right? So this repeat until is important. Now you might be wondering at this point of time, why did I use repeat until and why not say repeat 2 times or repeat 3 times, right? The reason is because I really do not control, I really do not control how many repetitions I'm going to get when these numbers fall, right? So it may be that I never get a repetition. It may be that 3 of those answers are the same value, right? So which means I cannot control how many times I must repeat it, and hence repeat until gives me just the right kind of flexibility to keep doing this until the list doesn't contain the answer that I provided, right? Which means it's basically it's all been clear, right? Now you might also wonder what happens if answers is doesn't contain this at all, right? Then basically this loop, none of this comes into action and you're again asked a question, right? So then nothing happens to the list, right? For example, let's say, if I, let's say, if I get, let's see, so 3 plus 8 answer is 11, but if I answer 12 for instance, nothing will happen because, well, that this condition was never met, right? So these conditions never came into play. But if I gave, say for example, 4, yeah, this will get, right, this should get deleted, right? So those are 4 has been deleted from here, and so on and so forth, right? So I think this code is quite robust. Important to understand the logic, which is basically that we are moving we are finding out which answer has been answered, and this could be more than one. So we are basically finding which all questions have been answered, and moving all those rows into this thing called the delete list, right? And that brings me to the next part of this thing, that what do we do with this delete list, right? So it's actually quite straightforward here now, because what will happen is that I will now basically say that, look, I'm going to delete these clones which are part of the delete list, right? And how do I do that? Well, it's very simple because I already have the code for when I start as a clone, forever change y by -1. Now I can, inside this forever, I can add a condition, right? I can add a condition that, in the control loop, I can go and say if, right, if delete list contains the clone ID. Okay, and why does this work? Because remember, delete list contains all those clone IDs that have to be deleted. Clone IDs are unique, so every clone can basically do this check. Every clone is running this code. It can basically just go and do this check that if delete list contains the clone ID. Okay, so if uh, here just have to be a little bit careful which list is coming where, otherwise this thing goes bad. So if delete list contains, say, in this case, I'll go and put variables. I'll go and put clone ID. If delete list contains clone ID, that means this particular clone has to be deleted, right? But I also want to make sure that the delete list itself is being pruned, right? Why do I do that? Because I do not want this list to become very very large, because large lists, when you run this contains operation, it takes a long time. Okay, how? Because you have to think how this is working, right? Basically it's taking every element of this list and comparing with this whatever is in here, right? So if the list is very large, you will find that this operation takes a very long time and it slows everything down, right? So I want to keep pruning my delete list. I know I'm going to delete this clone, so I can as well remove this particular thing from the delete list. How do I do that? And pay attention to this, because basically I'm going to use delete command. All right, but the question is, what do I delete, right? So delete something from the delete list. Okay, so the first thought that will come to your mind is that I'm going to delete the clone ID from the delete list. Yeah, but the problem is that, remember, for example, in fact, we have a good example right here, right? The clone IDs that have to be deleted are 4, 5, and 6, right? So if I say delete 4, which is say clone ID, from the delete list, it will not do anything, because delete command works by the item number, right? So basically, I can say, if I say delete 1 of delete list, 4 will get deleted, right? So essentially, I have to tell the item number of this clone to be deleted, right? I mean, it gets more obvious when, let's say this was 25, 26, 27, right? Or something like that, right? So if I say delete 25 of delete list, there aren't even that many elements, right? So it won't work. Instead, what I have to tell the item number of the clone ID and have to delete that, right? So what I'll do is that I'll say item number of clone ID, duplicate this item number of clone ID in delete list. I can delete this, and once I do this, I can also go and delete the clone, right? And what you will find is that once this happens, uh, you know basically, if delete this clone, right? So now this whole thing is kind of coming together now, because every clone had been given a clone ID, right? Those clone IDs which corresponded to a correct answer as you have provided have been moved into a delete list, and hence that particular clone, when it checks that, oh, okay, look, my name has appeared in the delete list, I must get deleted. So it deletes itself, and it also cleans up the delete list. It removes itself from the delete list. Like I said, if you did not do this, the game will just start to become slow as you proceed, right? So now if you notice, what will happen is the moment I answer a correct answer, the list will be quite fast now. It won't, you won't see it, but the logic is clear. So the moment I say 2, it looks like it magically disappeared, but really what happened is that it got transferred to the delete list, because now answer is 15. So if I answer 15, all that got shifted to delete list and got deleted, right? 5, of course, this is right now quite slow, so it's kind of easy to play, but as you know, it gets harder and harder when more numbers start falling down, right? So if I answer 12, uh, and so on and so forth. So really what's going on is, I can go back again to the scheme that I showed you. It's just this, that we have in fact now completed this part as well, right? So if you see from the top to the end, it's just a very very logical usage of lists, right? It's nothing much, but very careful, very logical, very sensible usage of lists, right? So we basically create clones, store their IDs in a list, we maintain a perfect correspondence between the answer number, the answer and the clone IDs. And then, so that we know which particular question has been answered, we can delete those clones. We do that by moving those clones into a delete list, and every clone checks for the delete list and it deletes itself. So it's, so far it's quite nice. In fact, now we can, now that this is all working, we can remove the clutter from the ground, from the screen, by hiding these variables, because we don't need to really see all of this, particularly the lists. right? And you will see that we can also start building some more stuff now, because the numbers are forming nicely. It's the whole game is really working. Now we have to code up the ending conditions, and a little bit of trick in there, so I thought it's good to do that. But probably I can make it, say I can go back to this wait random 1 to 2 seconds, right? So that it gets a bit more let's say a bit more um, random. Also, I don't need to set the x anymore to a fixed value. I can also set this to say something like, maybe something like minus 200 to 150. Now you might wonder, why did I do minus 200 to 150? The reason is that I want to make sure that the clone on the right, okay, which is basically this clone, doesn't go outside, right? And the clone on the left also doesn't go outside, right? So I make sure of clone on the left by ensuring that the x is minimum x is minus 200, so it's somewhere here, and maximum x is basically 150 plus 50, because remember the clone on the right is put by 50 points offset from the clone on the right now. This is again, you can choose to do it a little differently, that's okay, but this is the idea that I'm going with, right? So with this, you will find that the numbers are falling all over the sky, I mean from different parts of the sky. And in fact, the game is actually become quite interesting to, if I have to keep up with all this, it really requires concentration, and it's a great practice for mathematics, maybe for people who are learning to summation and so on and so forth right now. So it build a kind of useful game in that sense, right? 6 9. So now that our game started to work, right, we are going to basically code the ending condition. So let's just see this working once, once again. We have the question and we have those numbers falling down. If I put the number 9, both of them disappeared. 14, 12, and so on and so forth, right? So the game is basically working, and now I'm going to add the ending conditions for this, right? And for this purpose, I just go create a red line, basically like a like a line before which I must answer. So I go to the backdrops and I create a line somewhere towards the bottom of the, okay, so I choose a line tool and I just draw a line somewhere towards the bottom of this portion, right? Looks just nice. Now you may want to be, you may wonder, why did I draw it at the bottom? It's simply because if I put it somewhere up here, it's going to leave me very, very little time to answer these questions. So I'm going to have this situation where if the clones go and touch this line, then they get deleted, right? So that part is, I think, relatively simple. We can, we have done this many times before. So what I can do is that now that this line is in place, I can add a condition that if touching this line, which is basically if touching color, I can I can delete this thing. And in fact, somebody asked me a good question, that can this line also be a sprite? The answer is absolutely yes. This line itself could have been a sprite, and then chase you could use if touching sprite as well, right? So now let's just do this. So I go to sensing, I say if touching color, and I go and make sure that the using dropper tool, I make sure I've got the right color in here. So I go and select, say, this color. If touching color red, uh, then I can say, okay, let's just maybe control, say, put a little wait, so probably say wait for 1 second, and then I can delete this clone, right? So that, remember, the clones are getting deleted in two conditions. One condition is when the number has been correctly answered. The other condition is that the number goes and touches this line. So let's just see if this thing works fine. So see, if I answer 3, this gets deleted, but let's not answer 6, because 4 plus 2 is 6, but I want these 3 to get deleted by touching this line. So they go and touch this line, they get deleted. Similarly, 7 plus 7, 1 plus 9, right? So essentially, this is the line before which I must answer these questions. And now we will see how we will use this infrastructure which has been put together to determine how the clones are falling, to determine if we have if we have to end the game at certain point, right? So for this purpose, again, I'm going to introduce a few variables. I'm going to introduce a variable by the name of lives, right? So I want to keep track of how many lives I've got. So possibly the game can start with, let's say, 3 lives, and it should end when I have missed 3 questions, right? uh, the one thing I want you to notice is that every time the clones go and touch this line, right, it's always going to be 3 clones. The reason is because the entire question is coming down together, right? So it's always the left clone, the right clone, and the operator, right? So which means every time I touch this line, I am having to, basically I'm having 3 clones which are going and touching this line, right? So I can't just directly reduce the life when the color red is touched, because then if I'm at 3 lives, then they will immediately get depleted, right? So what I'll do is that I'll also create another variable here. I'll make one more variable called fallen clones, right? And this, the idea of this variables is just, I want to keep track of how many clones have fallen down, right? So what I will do now is that I will change clone by, you know, so I'll basically say, look, I'll change fallen clone by -1 when it goes in, say, sorry, change fallen clones by, we can do it before this. So change fallen clones by, remember -1 is important, and then I can delete this clone, right? So now, why did I do this, right? Like I said, that every time a question falls down, touches this red line, it's basically three clones that have fallen. So now I am going to write a little bit of code to make sure that the lives get reduced only after three clones have fallen, right? So, that's the whole logic of this thing, right? So I set this to, of course, I am going to write a little bit more code. So when flag clicked, I'm going to set fallen clones to 0, right? So that it's reasonable, right? So I'm going to set fallen clones to 0. Now I'm going to say wait until foreign clones become 3, right? So remember, foreign clones will oh, I'm sorry, I think I made a mistake. It should not be changed foreign clones by -1, it should be changed foreign clones by +1 here, right? So that I'm just counting up how many clones have fallen down. So this should have been +1, right? So I'm going to count till fallen clones become 3, right? So I'm going to put wait until, right? Wait until fallen clones is equal to 3, right? So that's, remember why 3, because that's, it implies that one entire question has come and touched the red line, right? So one entire question has fallen through. So wait until fallen close is 3, and once that happens, change lives by -1, right? So obviously lives should reduce, right? Change, say, lives by -1, and also, set the fallen clones back to 0. Now, why do I need to do that? Because remember, the fallen clones were counting per question, right? So every time a question fell down, the fallen clone would have gone from 0 to 3, because first clone, second clone, third clone, right? I must make sure that this thing becomes 0 again, so that when the next question falls down, I can again have the fallen close going to 3, and then I can check this, right? In fact, what I also need to do is to put this entire thing inside a forever, right? And the reason is that because remember, the fallen close is becoming like a counter which is going from 0 to 3 for every question falling down. So once the question falls down, I make it back to 0 again, right? So when it becomes 3, I immediately make it 0 again. When the fallen close becomes 3, I make it 0 again. So that it goes from 0, then again 1, 2, 3, then 0, right? So which means that I must check again for this condition to happen. So basically, first question, second question, third questions, and as many other questions I want, right? So if I have 20 lives, then I'll be checking for 20 questions, which means I must do this forever and ever again, right? So for this particular thing, I do need a forever, right? Now, what do I do with the lives, right? So I can put another loop here just to keep things simple. Of course, I can put it all in the same loop, but I just like to keep it a little bit more easier to understand. So I'm going to say set lives to say 3, right? Now I can say that, look, wait until lives become 0, right? So here it's interesting point that I will not put forever, because this event will happen only, I presume will happen only once, right? So basically, unlike this fallen clones becoming 3, which was a repetitive event, lives becoming 0 will be a one shot event, because lives will become -1, lives will become 3 to 2, 2 to 1, 1 to 0. So lives will become 0. And once that happens, then I can say, look, I can stop everything, right? So if that happens, then I can go and say stop everything. And let's just see this for ourselves, right? So I can, I don't need all of this. Important point here to understand is, why did we put a forever here? Why did we not put a forever here? The reason is because fallen clones equals to 3 will happen again and again, right? Every time a question falls down, fallen clones will become 3. So which means we must detect it, but lives became 2, 1, and then 0, and I want everything to stop, and everything indeed stopped, right? So everything is good here. I just need to add some notion of a score, and one way to us to score this game is to basically figure out how long I have lasted, right? Another way could have been how many questions I have answered, right? So that could also be done from the time we are processing this, right? So every time we answer this question, we can give ourselves a point, right? That's another way of doing it. but I'll take a simpler approach probably, because here I have to worry about repeated questions as well, right? But that's a very valid approach one could do. Here, what I would do is that I'll just use a simple timer, right? So I'll say, look, when the flag is clicked, just reset timer. Timer, remember, is a ever running clock which never stops. So I'll just use, say, reset timer. And maybe once the live has become zero, I can go and say set. So I need to create a variable called score. So I'll use a variable called score, right? So I'll say set score to, perhaps I can do set score to, say, round of timer. Now, what does round do? Basically, it will remove all the decimal places. It will either take it to the larger number or the smaller number. So if it's less than, let's say, 3.21 will become 3, 3.81 will become 4, right? So it's just nicer, to demonstrate. But like I said, a very nice addition to this game could be to figure out how many questions I answered correctly before my lives exhausted, right? But this is also fine. And what will now happen is that I'll have, so score is always being displayed. I think what I can do is that I can hide this variable score, right? So I can go and hide this lives I can show, and then here I can just say show variable score, so that in the end my score is sort of, I can show the score, right? So what happens is, like, I've got three lives. So for example, 3, right? Then 10, 8, 3, 12, right? Now let's say I'll let it fall so that I kind of end this game, right? 8 plus 9 is 17. I didn't answer that. 7, I didn't answer. Let's see, if I answer 7, those two go away. A lot of them went away. But anyway, I've got two lives. 15, 9, 13, 17. So I've got one life. I've got zero lives. Everything gets over, and it looks like I played for about 7 seconds, right? So the game was, I think, uh, basically, oh, I think there is a problem here, right? So I just made a mistake here. So I should be doing round of timer. This didn't look correct, so this should be my mistake. This should be round of timer, right? So this, maybe I'll just let it uh, fall down here. So 0 plus 8, 4 plus 6, let's say 4 plus 6 is nice, so I'll transfer. Notice both of these will go away. This, if I answer 8, all of this will go away, but I'll just deliberately end my this thing. It ends, and I lasted for about 16 seconds. So it should have really been timer. This is a mistake that I made earlier, uh, but that's a very inconsequential mistake. Like I said, you could definitely modify this game by asking how many questions I answered correctly, and that can be a score as well, right? So that's a nice addition one could think of. Finally, just to make this game come alive a little bit, I'll add some music, and the music that I liked for this game was this music called Xylo 1, I think. Let's see. No. Yeah, I use this. I think, I mean, it doesn't really matter. You can use any music that you want, but remember, this being a background music, it's just better to put it in a separate forever loop. So, when flag click forever, you can say, in the sounds, you can say play sound Xylo 2 until done, right? And then so, it's kind of a little bit more lively. 7, 17, 8, 7, 10, and so on and so forth, right? So I'm going to stop this here. I think what I've ended up in is quite an interesting game. Let's just recap, and for the purpose of doing this recap, I'm going to go back to the scheme that I've been talking about. This game hinges on this scheme, right? So we used lots of lists. In the first part of the video, we created this lists where we had all the clone IDs getting stored, the answers getting stored, and in the second part of the video, we use the answers list to determine if a correct answer has been provided. If so, then I move those clone IDs to a delete list, using which I delete. So this is the broad level scheme of this whole game. And then, like I said, in the end, it's just a matter of coding these ending conditions, which I use this red line as my guide. If the question goes and touches this, I end the game. But because it's three clones getting deleted at one time, so I have to take care of that, and hence all these fallen clones. Otherwise, it's fairly standard. So I hope this game was interesting. Definitely, this is a great exercise for lists. I mean, your concepts of lists are going to get super clear if you go through this carefully. Of course, you'll make some mistakes, but you logically try to argue what's going wrong. And if you do this exercise, your concepts on lists will really become strong. And there are many additions you could do. Like I said, multiple operators, the way you're scoring the game, and so on and so forth, right? So do try this, and I hope you really enjoy this thing. Thank you very much. Bye bye.